Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Trustees for the Village of Burr Ridge for our first meeting of the year. It is January 8th. Our first order of business, of course, is to call order and the Pledge of Allegiance. And today, we have a very special guest, a third grader from Pleasantville Elementary School. Her name is Muskan Kapoor. Now, her name, she is actually 9 years old, and as she said, she's recently moved to Burr Ridge with her family. Actually, I heard it was from the move from Elgin here about 6 months ago. And she said, I really like that everyone is so nice at the school, and I'm having lots of fun in my new school. My favorite colors are aquamarine lavender and spring green. Favorite subjects are science, reading, math, Spanish, and art. And she recently started swimming in the pre-team, and she enjoys it. She likes to participate every year in the Seek Speech Symposium held across the United States, and last year she even went ahead to represent Chicago, Wisconsin region at the international level in South Carolina. She wants to either be a chemist, a Marine, or work for NASA when she grows up. She's here tonight with her mother and father. Her mother is Anit, and her father is Anmol, and who I happen to have we have a mutual friend, we found out in Naperville, and a shout out to a mutual friend of ours named Roger Chavla. Now, I'd like to have Muskan lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Well, it seemed only appropriate that someone that wants to work at NASA should do our Pledge of Allegiance today. That's great. Thank you very much. Great job. Karen, may I have roll call, please?
Trustee Francis.
Here.
Trustee Model.
Here.
Trustee Paveza.
Here.
Trustee Mattel.
Here.
Trustee Snyder.
Here.
Trustee Schiappa.
Here.
Mayor Straub.
Here. First order of business, residents' comments. Are there any residents that would like to address the board at this time? Seeing no one, we'll move on to the consent agenda, or the otherwise known as the omnibus vote. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed. Under minutes, we have 5A, approval of regular board meeting of December 11th, 2017. 5B, receive and file draft street policy committee meeting of December 11th, 2017. Under ordinances, 6A, approval of an ordinance approving and completing real estate sale at 11680 German Church Road. And B, approval of ordinance amending the Village of Burr Ridge Personnel Manual adopted by ordinance number 661. Under resolutions, we have 7A, adoption of resolution proclaiming January 21st and 27th, 2018 as School Choice Week in the Village of Burr Ridge. Under B, we have adoption of a resolution authorizing certification to group health plan, HMO, and health insurance issuer, exchange of protected health information under the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. Under considerations, we have 8C, which is approval of recommendation to award contract for tree trimming. D, approval request for blanket raffle license for 2018 for the Willowbrook Burr Ridge Chamber of Commerce and hosting facility licenses as needed for various locations in conjunction with the Chamber's fundraising events throughout the year. Approval of, under E, we have approval request for raffle license for St. Isaac Jogues School and hosting facility license for Chicago Marriott Southwest Burr Ridge for its fundraising event on February 10th, 2018. F, receive and file a draft resignation letter from Police Pension Board member Vasanthi Siris. G, receive and file a resignation letter from Code Enforcement Officer Cheryl Smith. H, approval of vendor lists in the amount of $632,346.80 for all funds, plus $490,000 and $184.74 for payroll, for a grand total of $1,122,531.59, which includes special expenditures of $236,274, to Intergovernmental Risk Management Agency for liability workman's comp insurance carrier for our 2018 annual contribution. $122,401.40 to Schroeder Asphalt Services for the 2017 road program curb and gutter work. $141,436 to Patton Industries for 2018 CAT 926M wheel loader and accessories, and $22,956.35 to, I'm not sure if that's a Bussy or Boosie, I think it's Bussy Bank for principal and interest on hotel motel installment loan. And I have a motion to approve the following items of the consent agenda. That would be 5A and B, 6A and B, 7A and B, 8C, D, E, F, G, and H. Motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. May I have roll call, please?
Trustee Schiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Martell?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
6-0.
Motion passes 6-0. Under considerations, we have 8A regarding the 3 model home permits. Doug, are you doing that?
Thank you. This is a request from McNaughton Builders to proceed with the approval to construct 3 model home permits for Lakeside Point planned unit development. The developer fully understands that even if approved by the board tonight, they would not get their permits until their final engineering plans are approved and they've posted a letter of credit. They simply want kind of a pre-approval so they don't have to wait for a board meeting when that time comes. It's standard procedure under our subdivision code to issue model home permits once the letter of credit and the final engineering plans are approved, and those approvals are pending. So we're asking that the village board go ahead and grant that approval, subject to staff approval of the final engineering and the letter of credit, and that would allow the developer then to proceed with the model home permits as soon as those documents are approved. They would then, however, would not be allowed to occupy those units, of course, until the subdivision infrastructure is significantly or substantially completed so that it's operational. Be happy to answer any questions.
Trustee Schiappa?
Have they posted the letter of credit?
No, they have not yet. Just to bring you update on exactly where they're at, in December, they submitted their first version of their final engineering plans. We provided plan review comments to them late December, I believe it was. And so we've, since late December, we've been waiting for them to make their revisions and bring back the revised engineering plans for our review.
Trustee Francis?
Yes, if all goes to plan, according to plan, when would they expect to break ground on these 3 model homes, if this were to be granted?
They would like to go forward as soon as possible. I don't know when they will be resubmitting their final engineering plans. Ideally, if they resubmit the final engineering plans, then it would be ready to go to our Plan Commission for review. There's no public hearings required, but it has to go to the Plan Commission for further review, and then the board for final plat approval. And I would expect that could happen in February.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Any other questions of our village administrator? See no one?
I'll make a motion, we approve the request.
Second.
Motion to approve the request, the consideration of request to permit issuance of 3 model home permits for Lakeside Point planned unit development. May I have roll call, please?
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Martell?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Schiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
6-0.
Motion passes 6-0. And under 8B, consideration of street policy committee recommendation to approve the 2018 road program.
Yes, I'll turn this over to Village Engineer and Public Works Director Dave Preissig to present the Street Policy Committee recommendation for the 2018 road program.
Thank you. And there's a presentation to go with that, but I guess before that, you could say that there's two seasons in the Midwest, and the first is winter, and the second being road construction. We're proud that Public Works handles both. They're both businesses. Good job. We do have a decent fleet and a great group of dedicated guys, so we do have wintertime snow and operations handled pretty well. So we will get on to talk about the road construction. What we are presenting here tonight is a review of what the Street Policy Committee did review back in its December 11th meeting. We'll talk a little bit about the 2017 road construction that we went through. We'll talk about our biennial street survey, street condition survey. That's our primary tool for assessing and determining our road programs. Because there's some new trustees here, we'll talk a little bit about the mechanism behind that, but also about the funding and the budgeting for our road programs, our capital improvement programs, and then discuss our 2018 proposal and some of the budgetary requirements with that. So with that being said, a little bit about our 2017 season. We get right into that. 79th Street was finally done. Back in 1999, first resurfaced, but this year we got it done as part of a STP grant. We accelerated that grant process back in 2016 and 2015 to get that ahead so that we could take advantage of a one-time offer from the DuPage Mayor and Managers Conference to get it funded at 75%. We were pleased that was done this past summer at a cost of about $450,000. The road program, our 2017 road program, resurfacing and asphalt patching, we got out to bid in end of February. That's the earliest it's been, so we got some very favorable prices from contractors to get ahead of the schedule, and we finished it. That came in about 15% under our initial engineer's estimate. We finished that contract at a cost of about $586,000. A little bit over budget on that one, but quite a bit under budget on our 79th Street. So overall, a little bit over $1 million, and came in about 1.7% under our budgets for that work. So we had a good construction season in 2017. On to our how we do the road program. We try to get the right treatments on the right streets at the right time. How we do that is go around every 2 years, take a look at our streets. No pun intended, but we don't want one to slip through the cracks. So we are taking a look at what they do, how they deteriorate, what the proper treatment is to do at that right time to keep costs at bay, but keep our street conditions at their finest. As you can kind of see from the chart, if you hit a street at the right time with a small amount of preventative maintenance, you can kind of keep it up a little bit better. That equates it to like keeping up on your roof shingles. With a little bit of maintenance, you might have to replace a shingle or two. Over time, you might have to do a little bit more with a shingle full roof replacement, but you hopefully don't have to get to the point where you're replacing the whole roof trusses. So we want to keep water out, keep our roads in good condition, hit that right treatment at the right time. The next one shows how we do that. It's a pretty comprehensive street survey that we do. 14 different points of distresses, how we quantify each one, how we observe each one on the street equates to what we end up with in terms of a pavement condition rating. Those PCRs, 100 being a perfect street, 99s and 90s being a great street. We're going to be targeting streets in the 60s and 70s for resurfacing. We won't want to get them down too far. So we do a pretty comprehensive survey of each section of street. So proposed for 2018, our resurfacing program, pretty typical, but streets to hit this year will be the Hinsdale Industrial Park, Shore Drive, Shore Court. Upper Mill Court hasn't been touched in 22 years. Elm Court right next to it. They call it the Space Valley, 94, Glen and Shepherd on the south end of town. Deerview Court and Buck Trail Court, or Buck Trail Drive. You know, Buck Trail Drive, that cul-de-sac was just completed, so they're going to be resurfacing that. We're going to take advantage of the timing with that and get in and do that at the same time. And 59th Street would be like a reimbursement with Hinsdale. They're finally going forward with that. We've been waiting for them for some time. It's one of the worst conditioned streets in our village, but we just have a small part of 59th Street. So we're going to let them do it as part of the larger road construction project that they do, as part of their bond projects, and we'll reimburse them for our village portion. Then we keep up with our patching. We did a little bit more on 83rd Street this past year. We'll finish that this year. The areas over by Clinderton and Gopher Cove. Then Greenbrier Court, off of like the Baroque Glen South subdivision. Get in and keep that up on schedule. Crack sealing, again, is one of those preventative maintenance strategies. We do that every year in about the $25,000 to $40,000 contract range. It just seals off the cracks, again, to keep the water from getting to the subbase. Pavement markings, addresses up in the traffic control devices. Burr Ridge Parkway is slated to get resurfaced in 2019. That's a STP grant we were successful in achieving. That would be about 70% of construction. We'll look to do that in 2019. In preparation for that, we'll have an engineering contract in 2018 to get plans approved and up through IDOT. So the cost for the 2018 capital program, to describe the resurfacing and the patching of those streets listed, amounts to that. This is the total road program funds. We talked a little bit about MFT, the fuel tax funds. That's our contribution from the state to help fund the road program. Deducted from the total cost of a road program, about $700,000. Overall, after the MFT deduction, about $424,000. With the engineering contracts too, we get all that done for about $509,000 as a village outlay from the general fund this coming year. But to back up a little bit about MFT, motor fuel tax, this is provided by the state of Illinois and the Illinois Tech Transfer Center. I give credit to IDOT for these following charts, just to kind of explain a little bit about what the motor fuel tax is and how we dedicate that to our streets. The following chart is a long one, but in summary, you can see that the contributions to the motor fuel tax as an overall state come from 19 cents on your gallon for gasoline plus an additional 2.5 cents on diesel. It's been that cost, that tax for the last 28 years, since 1990. That's gone unchanged. That trickles into the larger state motor fuel tax funds. Department of Revenue reports that was about $1.28 billion. After all the other allocations come out, state funds, grant funds, roadway funds, grade crossing protection funds, administration of that, et cetera, trickles down finally to local municipalities, the balance of the motor fuel tax fund. We get that little part for us, shared with counties, municipalities, township road districts. In summary, how it breaks out to municipalities is based only on population. Department of Revenue reports that was about $25 per person. So Burr Ridge gets about, as we reported, about $271,000, and largely unchanged over the past few years. So that's one source of funding. The next chart just kind of puts that in a graph, or in a graphical format. Again, I didn't make this up. This comes from our state, which basically shows the road taxes coming in, trickling down back through the Department of Transportation, out to the local agencies, where we get it as checks and payments from the state, which we then balance or deposit in our accounts. We obligate everything over to road construction. So at the next board meeting, you'll see a resolution. That's the formal process by which we're telling the state we're obligating all our funds over to our road program, pending approval, of course. Last is a little bit about how staff are getting through the fiscal year 18-19 budget and what goes on with the capital program. So we talked about these are kind of the two main revenue sources, is the motor fuel tax fund that we get from the state allocation, but the village general fund is the balance of our capital improvements. In fiscal year 17-18, as we reported about a year ago, Administrator Stricker reported at that time that we would need a likely transfer. It does seem to be that case from our IRMA, the Illinois Risk Management Association, the excess surplus fund that's out there. There would be a one-time transfer, as our finance director indicates, we would do. Coming up in the next fiscal year, some of the uncertainties into how capital programs will be funded in the future is that the sidewalk pathway fund will be drained out after next year when the County Line Road sidewalk is constructed north of Longwood up to Catherine Leahy Park. That'll exhaust that fund, so sidewalk and pathway improvements will compete with road program funds in the future. And that this coming year we'll have some collaboration, we believe, with Cook County and the tollway and making a connection out to the east where 71st Street connects up to Wolf Road. That might be able to get done as part of the Central Tri-State Corridor improvements with the tollway. They'll be right there. It's an access improvement to their Oasis to their toll plaza there off of Wolf Road. So that could be an easy partnership with them. But that being said, that's my presentation of our 2018 road program. Again, this was reviewed by the Street Policy Committee. So after any questions, we'll be looking for a motion for consideration and approval.
Okay, anyone on the board have a question for our Public Works Director? I know I do have one question. I noticed that Peppermill Court is one of the streets that's up for resurfacing. I know that that's a street that was annexed in the village before we had stricter ponding or water retention rules, and it's been a problem area. Is there anything that can be done with that thought in mind when it's being redone to help address that problem that they have? Is just so difficult for the residents.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. We do know that there is, in the heaviest of flood waters, there is a constant deep area at the bowl of the court that prevents vehicles from getting through. So we have budgeted in as part of this work to hopefully raise that up a little bit to, we won't eliminate the water, but eventually get it down to a level that at least it's more passable by the vehicles to get to homes. So.
That would be great. I know that would be appreciated by the residents. Anyone else has questions for Public Works Director? By the way, I love your analogy in the beginning about what two things your winter and the road program. I think winter and pavement. Now PW and Public Works will always think of those two. That's two. I know your job is much larger than that. We certainly appreciate all that you've done, and especially during these unusual days lately with a lot of ice and occasional snow. So. Yes. Thank you, David. Trustee Francis?
Just comments, a few comments, if that's okay. I appreciate all the hard work that staff has put forth in preparing these bid packages, these concise packages, well thought out, well planned, and getting them out early so we can take advantage of the best possible pricing for our residents. Also, the hard work that goes into the biennial street survey. It's Dave didn't touch on it too much, but it's 12 factors, Dave? 14 factors?
Yeah, 14 factors.
14 factors that are looked at for each street in our village, each roadway, and not just one spot in the street, several spots, to make sure that it's a fair survey and that all the conditions are taken into account properly. But that being said, our roadways in our village, they're used by every resident in the village. They're used by every business owner, every customer, every employee of those businesses, every customer of our shops and stores, restaurants. So they really showcase our village, our roads. And we're blessed in this village to have some of the best quality maintained roads in the suburbs, in the area. And you notice the difference when you go to other villages, when you drive from our village and then to a neighboring village. The roadways, the conditions are different. They're not as well maintained as ours. And so we're very fortunate, and we appreciate all the hard work that goes into this. Thank you. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the capital road program request. Second. For 2018.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Schiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Mattel?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Model? Yes. 6-0.
Thank you very much. And under other considerations for announcement, deliberation and/or discussion only, no official action will be taken.
Comment.
Reports and communications for village officials? Or?
Oh, yeah, hold it to then.
Under residents' comments? Any residents' comments? Anyone like to address the board? Now, reports and communications from village officials?
The comment I've got to make, over the years, I've worked with 4 mayors and numerous trustees, and we've worked long and hard to make Burr Ridge the very special place that we claim it is. And we've worked that way for a lot of years, and it's amazing what's been happening over the last 3-4 weeks. I was at a recent luncheon about a couple of weeks before Christmas, and some friends of mine that live in Lamont brought over to me and put in front of me 2 of these political mailers, and they asked, "What's going on? I thought you people in Burr Ridge had everything under control." And, you know, it didn't dawn on me, there's so much of it, but then when you look at it and you see that they're really knocking the village on a lot of items, and as, you know, not only did I think about it from them, but over the next 3 weeks, more and more of these political mailers came out, and more residents were either stopping me, asking me, calling me, and I found out that several of the trustees were in the same position that I was in. And it, you know, I decided, well, before I say anything, I called our village administrator and finance director and I sat down with them and went over all of this stuff. And just like I thought, it was all false and misleading. And then I called our attorney in Doug's office and we talked, and he asked, we send him the flyers. And I sent him the flyers, and another talked to him. He even said, these are borderline slander. I mean, not only is it false, it's misleading information, and I felt that, you know, they're harming the village. So, over the last 2 weeks, I've talked to the other trustees, and we've decided that we want a cease and desist letter, and we want an apology for all the false and misleading information. And the attorney, Scott Euler, presented me with presented all the trustees with a letter that's going to go out to the Illinois Republican Party and Citizens for Durkin, and it's in regards to false statements pertaining to the village of Burr Ridge. And it just goes right on down the line and lists all of the items that were in his flyers that slandered the village. You know, and the thing that really upset me on a lot of these things is he's knocking the village of Burr Ridge when we have so many positive things. You know, we've got our own water line where we bring water from Bedford Park, not the city of Chicago. We've got a very professional police department that's CALEA certified. Only 44 out of more than 800 police jurisdictions are certified this way. We have among the lowest taxes in the area. The taxes that the village asks the residents is among the lowest. Our financial rating is one of the highest. In fact, I asked our finance director, why isn't it the highest? And he says, well, we're not big enough to get the highest financial rating. But, like it says, even our pension liability, not only are we concurrent with what the state wants us to put in, we're actually in the top third of villages or municipalities with our pension obligations. Also, as our Public Works Director just mentioned, we've got a quality road maintenance program. So the village is full of good, positive items, and to see the slanderous comments that are coming out time after time, I thought was ridiculous. And I've talked to all of the village. If none of the trustees have any problems, we're going to see that this letter gets sent out tomorrow. And we're asking, and so this thing just don't go away in the wind, we are asking for a comment, either come before us and justify or give us the reply that we want by our next board meeting, or we've instructed the attorney on Tuesday afterward to take further legal action. Those are my comments.
Well, Trustee Paveza, thank you for setting the record straight. You know, in the years of wise leadership you've provided our community, like you, I heard from a lot of upset constituents who are confused by this false information and quite frankly, outright lies that are being spread about Burr Ridge and our finances. You know, like you mentioned, the fact is Burr Ridge is one of the most fiscally sound and well-run communities in this state. We've got a double A1 bond rating, which is the second highest rating possible, and that speaks for itself. Very few communities in Illinois enjoy this type of a credit rating. So contrary to what many residents might have seen in their mailbox, we've not run years of deficits. We've not sent money to any Chicago bailout, and any small increases in our property tax levy. And let me explain, it's important for people to understand the difference, the property tax levy, it's the total dollar amount that we collect, not the rate that's charged to homeowners. So any small increase in that levy has been within the tax cap laws imposed by Springfield. And those laws, they limit the amount of increases, and the vast majority of any increase that Burridge has collected, it was due to new housing developments and new land that we annexed, not because of an increase in property taxes. So our residents, they should be very, very pleased that Burridge has collected more money to run our town because we were smart. We grew our town, and we added new homes, and we added new land. Anyone who says otherwise, they're not only mistaken, but I say they're lying. So I'm disgusted by what I've seen in the mailbox, and I support the letter and, if necessary, further legal action. The folks in Springfield, they should take a lesson from Burridge. If they ran the state half as well as Mayor Mickey and the trustees of Run Burridge, Illinois wouldn't be in this fiscal disaster that we're in today. Thank you for your time.
Trustee Scalpa?
I have to agree with you, Trustee Paveza, and thank you for doing all this work and providing the facts that are proving these false allegations, that they're wrong. I'm absolutely disgusted with this propaganda that showed up in my mailbox and receiving the phone calls from the residents. And as a trustee for over 2 years, I know that all of us have to agree that we've run this village with a balanced budget. We have not sent any money to Chicago. And I just believe that all of this propaganda is nothing but lies. And I'm absolutely disgusted with what has shown up in my mailbox and explaining to the residents in Burridge, my neighbors, my friends, and friends in other villages. It's very disturbing, very disappointed in the Illinois Republican Party and in Jim Durkin, who supposedly represents me. So those are my comments.
I just wanted to thank Trustee Paveza for starting this and putting an end to these lies. Somebody really appreciate it, and we should not have to put up with these lies. So.
Trustee Francis?
Thank you, Trustee Paveza, for initiating this effort. I too also received questions and comments from neighbors and friends in the village about what they were receiving in their mailbox, and some of them realized it was slanderous material, and it was falsehoods, and it was untrue and made up facts. But others weren't sure. They don't pay close attention to the village business. They trust their trustees and their village president to run things properly, and so when they see these things show up in the mailbox, like, what have I been missing? What's been going on? Well, nothing's been going on. These are not true. And so hopefully with this letter that goes out, this will be the end of it, and if it isn't, we'll have to take the next step. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Paveza, I also like to thank you for doing the extra work for all this project. Being just in my regular home the other day, a couple weeks ago, an actual Jim Durkin walk around came up to me, asked me another flyer to myself, and he asked me a question. I should vote for Mr. Durkin. You should really know about Mayor Mickey with Madigan. I said, do you really know what you're talking about? He goes, no, that's what I'm supposed to tell you. He handed me the thing. I said, Mayor Mickey lives right there. I said, so I think you should leave. But the individuals walking around had no clue what they were even saying, with no information given. They were like just supposed to put down the mayor and go from there. It was very disappointing. So I'm very pleased with what you've done. Thank you very much.
So we'll send out the letter. Doug, you'll send out the letter tomorrow.
Just to clarify, the letter requires a retraction of the statements, correct? An apology and a retraction or an explanation of them.
The last paragraph spells it out. We have received numerous complaints and inquiries from Burridge residents regarding this information. Complaints come from those who know this information is false, inquiries from those who are led to believe that our village is not being governed responsibly, like Trustee Francis said. Thus, it is clear that your false statement and lies are defaming and damaging to the residents, elected officials and appointed officials, and the staff of the Village of Burr Ridge. That is why we demand that you cease and desist from any further distribution of false information pertaining to the Village of Burr Ridge, and that you immediately provide a written correction and apology for the false information. If you believe any of the false assumption in this letter to be incorrect, we invite you to reply or to attend the next village board meeting on January 22nd, 2018 to clarify your statements. Lacking the satisfactory response as requested, further legal action will be deemed necessary.
Well said. If there are any further comments from any of the trustees after today's meeting, feel free to share those with Doug or myself, and we'll make sure we include them in the water.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, I would, it's been a very difficult couple of months for all of us, watching outside political forces unfairly and unnecessarily attack this board and village administration. I love Burr Ridge, and I know all of you do too. I join my colleagues, especially the not only trustee Paveza, but our deputy mayor, village president Al Paveza, in defending the outstanding work of our village administration and the members of this board. Moving on to the next item, any comments from non-residents? Now we need to move into closed session. I have a motion to go into closed session and to appoint our village administrator, Doug Pollock, as the clerk pro tem.
So moved.
May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Model?
Yes.
Trustee Scapa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
6-0.
We are now in a closed session, and we'll be reconvened after that time. We are going closed session to discuss the approval of closed session minutes to October 9, 2017, discussion regarding pending or probable litigation, and discussion regarding employment of employees. Thank you very much for joining us.